I begin every morning of my day drinking coffee, having a little breakfast, and reading the Wall Street Journal. And in today's Wall Street Journal, there's two interesting articles on the opinion and op-ed page, which are the first place I go besides the front page, dealing with Alexander Solzhenitsyn. So here we have this editorial which talks about, it says, of good and evil. And of course, obviously the focus is Alexander Solzhenitsyn. And on the other side, in the notes and quotable section in the op-ed page, we have this from a commencement speech he gave in 1978. And if you have a chance to see these, you can get the Wall Street Journal online, or if you can get a copy at the library. They're actually important editorials, not so much because they come from the journal, but in fact the subject, which is, of course, Alexander Solzhenitsyn. Solzhenitsyn died this week, and he was a Russian dissident, and he was a person who spoke out against the corruption and the evil of the Russian regime. He got a Nobel Peace Prize for his literary work, and was actually exiled from the Soviet Union afterwards. When I say Russia, I mean actually the Soviet Union. The Soviet Union afterwards. And he came here to the United States. He lived for quite a bit of time in Vermont. And then after the fall of the Soviet Union, he returned to Russia, and this past week he died there. But what's important is, again, they bring up from 1978 his commencement speech at Harvard University. Now, I should tell you where I am. I'm here, obviously, at St. Benedict's Parish. Harvard University is 2.5 miles down the road. This is St. Benedict's Parish, Somerville, Massachusetts. Tufts University is on the Somerville-Medford line, just down the street on Broadway here. Massachusetts Institute of Technology is not very far from here. It's actually probably a 40-minute walk at most, which would put it at about 2 miles. And so actually we're in a very intense academic area. And here it is at Harvard University in 1978. Here is the commencement that Alexander Solzhenitsyn is going to give. Now, this is just made for Harvard, you would think, because here you have this dissident. He's speaking out against his authorities. He's speaking out against the government, but he's also connected to communism in a sense because he was in the Soviet Union. But he rejected communism. And what he does when he gives this commencement speech is to the people he is speaking at Harvard, and actually to the Americans in general, he gives it to us right between the eyes. And it did not go over well in Harvard. As you can understand, when you look at some of the words he said, for example, he says, the American intelligentsia, which of course defines Harvard, lost its nerve, and as a consequence thereof, danger has come much closer to the United States. He also spoke about how the pacifists in the United States had caused many, because of the communist regimes, to suffer. Now, he also is brought up in the editorial in the Wall Street Journal, having said that there was, he had warned of, as the editorial says, and it says, quote, an atmosphere of moral mediocrity paralyzing man's noblest impulses, end quote. And then it continues, quote, a tilt of freedom in the direction of evil, evidently born primarily out of a humanistic and benevolent concept according to which there is no evil inherent to human nature. And so when he made these statements, he who was considered very popular on the left all of a sudden becomes very unpopular on the left because he speaks prophetically. Now, it's important to note that when I say these words, and I mention the left, the intelligentsia, I want to make it clear I'm not like, sitting there and, Joe Conservative going, isn't that cool he went after the intelligentsia? No, you'd miss the point if you do that. He spoke as one who understood what evil looks like when it is institutionalized, and he saw it and he spoke out against it. It doesn't matter whether it's to the left or to the right. If you are about to go to college, if you're in college, if you may be born after 1978, may I encourage you to read One Day in the Life of Ivan Denisovich, or any of his books, but that, of course, talks about life in the gulags. It's a one-day picture of life in the gulags. You may also want to pick up a book called He Leadeth Me, and it's about Father Walter Czizak's 15 years in the Soviet gulag system, and his crime was being a Catholic priest, which of course the communists were very much into, imprisoning people of faith. Please remember that when you're watching the Olympics from China. Anyway, powerful stuff coming out of the Wall Street Journal this morning, and I encourage you to check it out. Have a good day.